Welcome to the channel. Today's date is November 25th, and we're going to be talking about how Microstrategy will probably be the biggest Ponzi scheme ever. Let's get straight into it. On like November 22nd, I made a video about how I believe that Microstrategy, what they was doing is borderline fraudulent. So I posted the video, thought it would do like my normal videos, but this time I was getting a lot of feedback. It was kind of disturbing to me. People telling me I don't have no idea what I'm talking about. You don't know what you're doing. Bitcoin is never going down. First off, this is not about Bitcoin. Bitcoin and MicroStrategy is two separate things. They're not one. And Bitcoin is not fraudulent. So please don't attack me telling me I don't know what Bitcoin is all about. I don't know this. I don't know that. But I do know what MicroStrategy is about. So I'm going to try to make this video real short so that the people that think I don't understand what I'm talking about, I want you to understand why MicroStrategy is going to be probably the biggest Ponzi scheme ever to exist. So I went back and watched, because they told me I didn't know what I was talking about, I went back and watched their quarterly meeting. And I don't even say I learned a lot. I found it to be really, really entertaining. I thought they talked about some really good things. And the craziest part that I found is that the assessment that I'm taking of their company is the assessment that they're telling to me. They're explaining. We agree on what the company is doing. I think the biggest difference is that they believe Bitcoin is going to go up forever, and I'm saying that Bitcoin is not going to go up forever. It's going to have downfalls, and it's going to be two things that's going to bring down the Ponzi scheme once it's all said and done. And I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I will ask you. I'm going to short MicroStrategy. It's not the time to short it now, but for those that have all the comments, I would really like for you to follow me so that I can announce on the day that I go short so we can see how this investment turns out. So the first way that MicroStrategy is a Ponzi scheme is that they're selling shares and they're selling convertible notes of their stock that expire in like 2029, 2032, stuff like that. And then they're taking that money and they're buying Bitcoin. And their average price used to be like 39,000, I believe, 39, 38,000. But they just went on a buying spree from like the 18th to the 24th, where they were purchasing up to like 5.1 billion, which, now that Bitcoin is up over 90s, is bringing their average price paid is, I believe, it's up to like $63,000 per Bitcoin now. And as they keep doing this, because they got to do it, which we're going to get to in a minute, they have to keep this Ponzi scheme going by selling their shares, selling convertible notes, and that's along with that BTU yield. As long as they're selling shares and Bitcoin is above the price that they're selling their shares at, and they're making more money off of it, which right now, I have to admit, if MicroStrategy sold everything right now and decided they weren't going to do this strategy no more, they would have made a whole lot of, I think they're making about $9 billion so far. But they're not going to stop because they got to keep the Ponzi scheme going. And what's going to affect that as they keep purchasing and raising their price higher and higher. And once Bitcoin go below their purchase price, now this BTC yield is going to turn negative. And so now it's not going to be easy to sell. And when they're no longer able to raise money anymore to buy Bitcoin, because the big corporate companies won't give them no more money to do it, then they're going to have to stop. The other way that's going to have to stop, that's more important, as I reread their quarterly meeting, their quarterly earnings report, and as I listened to their quarterly report, they did one thing really, really good for me. They broke out what the software business does, and they broke out what the Bitcoin business does. And I want to share that with you today. Besides that, the price of Bitcoin going down, let's see what they're doing out of this 5.1 billion that they're doing. So what we're looking at here, this is their quarterly report. in just their earnings report. So as you can see, and they put in red what the software business is doing. So the software business did 116 million in revenue. The cost of the revenue was 34 million. So their profit was 81 million, but the total operating expenses, which is general expenses, was 100 million. So the business lost $18 million. The business lost $18 million. And so then you can see to the right of that under corporate and other, that's their Bitcoin business. You can see the two first things, it has no revenue and there's no cost of the revenue because they're basically selling their shares, selling these warrants to buy more Bitcoin. But for some reason, and I don't know why, which is very, very concerning to me, and this is probably where the fraud gonna come in at, you'll see that their total operating expense for the quarter was $414 million, which consolidated, $414 million, which consolidated the company lost $432 million. And it was another good thing. And I hope y'all that's all coming at me and saying I don't know what I'm talking about, I hope y'all doing the type of research that I'm doing, listening to the earnings call. They only allowed two questions. You basically had to email the question. I've never seen that in a quarterly conference call. Normally, the analysts get to come on and actually ask their question. They didn't do that. They just picked two. And one of them was, and it's throughout this slide, but I'm not going to go over. One of them was they got debt because when they first started this, they were actually selling bonds or convertible bonds that had a yield to it. And so they had to pay. And someone asked, because your business is losing money, and by the way, they only got $48 million of cash on their balance sheet. If because your businesses are losing money, how are you going to pay these bonds that you owed off? And the CEO, not Michael Shaler or whatever you call it, he's just a salesman to me. I don't watch plenty of his videos. He's a salesman. They asked, how are you going to pay off these bonds? And he told them, well, we raised, like $6 billion in this quarter. And we paid off half our bonds. So that told me right there, as they sell all these shares, their common stock shares, and then these warrants, and they bring in this money, they're not using all the money to buy Bitcoin. They're paying off the debt, and then they're paying this $432 million loss. Where'd they get the money from? I'm going to tell you, they got the money from selling their shares and then buying so much Bitcoin. That's not going to last. That's like, you're almost losing close to $2 billion a year. And so you're just going to continuously sell shares to support this company that's losing almost $500 million a quarter. That's not going to work. It's not going to work. So I've done my analysis. And if you do, and if you have any comments or anything like that, and there's something that you think that you can wake me up to, please ask. I'm willing to have that dialogue. But I think that's enough evidence right there that this is a Ponzi scheme. Bitcoin will not forever go up. It's going to have upside, downside, no matter how much you believe in Bitcoin. That's just how markets work. They go up and they go down. And when when Bitcoin falls below the overall purchase price, because they got to keep, if Bitcoin go to 1 million, they're still going to be purchasing Bitcoin at $1 million. Like I said, if they sell now, it would have been a big success. But they're not going to do that because they got to keep, they got almost $500 million in operating expense that they got to pay every quarter. And the only way they can get that money from, because the business is garbage, the software business is a horrible business. And so the only way to keep paying for that is to keep this Ponzi scheme going. I hope this information was helpful. If you did, please like, please share, please subscribe. Good luck investing, and we out.